What do I do outside of studying to maximize my performance on exam day? Should I eat or not eat certain things on exam day? Should I sleep a certain amount of time? Should I drink a certain amount of coffee or a certain amount of water? How do I sit in the exam chair? These are seemingly small things that actually affect exam performance, and I never thought they actually affected exam performance that much until I did the research for making this video. So in this video, I'm gonna give you 12 strategies, and these strategies are gonna be broken up into what to do the week before the big exam, what to do the day before the big exam, and what to do on the day of the big exam. And again, these aren't going to be studying techniques, how to study. These are just going to be things to make your body and mind the best prepared they can possibly be for this exam. Hopefully you've done the studying already. Okay, let's get into it. So the week before, what do you do the week before an exam, a huge, big exam? Well, practice, practice, practice. We are talking about practice.
Talking about practice, man. What are we talking about? Practice?
Practice is easily one of the best ways to perform better on exam day. And why is this important? Well, when you practice, you take off a little bit of those exam day jitters. And sometimes these exam day jitters are a good thing, right? But as I've learned in kind of previous videos, and I'll reiterate in this video, kind of our performance versus stress is a U-shaped curve. And when we go beyond the top of the U-shaped curve, your performance actually suffers. So if you get too stressed, you go beyond the U and your performance actually goes down. So we want to do everything we can to keep our stress at a middle kind of level. And repeating everything down to a T, what you are gonna do on exam day, is one great way to do this. So specifically, the week before the exam, I would make a day that is exactly like your exam day. I would wake up at the same time. I would get changed and get prepared into the same clothes you will get prepared and changed to on test day. I would eat the same exact breakfast that you're gonna eat on exam day. I would drink the same amount of water. I would drink the same amount of coffee. I would walk, drive, take a bus, or get on the train to wherever your test is gonna be. And if you can, I would try and take a practice test in that location. If you can't take a practice test in that location, that's fine. Just come back to your house or wherever you do your studying and take that practice test. And this is the most important thing. When you are taking this practice test, mimic test day exactly. So for example, I know at the testing centers I go to, I'm not allowed to have a phone. I'm not allowed to bring any other items into the testing room. So when I'm taking my practice test, guess what? I don't have my phone. I know there's gonna be certain timing of the sections. So for certain sections, I'll have 90 minutes and then a 10-minute break and then maybe 90 minutes and then a 5-minute break or something like that. So that's how I'm gonna do my practice test. I'm gonna take the test timing-wise exactly the way it will actually be on test day. I'm actually gonna eat and bring the same snacks that I would eat and bring on exam day. And this is probably one of the best strategies, if not the best strategy in this entire video. Practicing what you're gonna experience on test day is one of the best ways to avoid test day jitters and come into the test prepared and confident. So bottom line, try and mimic test day at least once before test day. So now we're on to tips to what to do the day before the exam. So tip number 2 is to exercise outside. So exercising outside accomplishes a couple of things. Number 1, exercise is shown to make your brain better at learning and retaining information. Specifically, molecules such as IGF-1 are released during exercise that may be responsible for maintaining brain cells and are also directly related to spatial learning and memory. Another molecule called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, which is a major modulator of brain plasticity, is also released more during exercise than non-exercise. Evidence shows that activity in humans and mice increase hippocampal neurogenesis, and remember the hippocampus is part of our brain that's responsible for memory, cell proliferation, and dendritic branching. Now all this fancy words mean is that just exercise helps you retain and learn information better, it seems. Number 2, exercise is proven to reduce stress and anxiety. And as I mentioned before with that U-shaped curve, we want to try and stay in the middle of that U-shaped curve, which exercise can help do. 3, and this is an important sneaky fact, exercise will make you more sleepy before the nighttime, as long as you make sure you exercise at least 5 hours before bed. I know if I go for like a hard run or I lift or do some hard yoga class or something, that night I'm gonna be sleepier than if I didn't do that class. And as I'm gonna get into later, having a good night's sleep is really important. We wanna do everything we can to ensure a proper night's sleep the night before the exam. 4, if we go outside at a reasonable hour, we are telling our body, telling our circadian rhythm, as long as there's some sun shining, that, you know, it's awake time. There are actually receptors receptors in our eyes that when light hits it, something happens in those receptors. And a signal is put back to another part of our brain, which goes to another part of our brain that says, okay, listen, it's daytime now. Don't release melatonin. We don't want to release melatonin because that's our sleepy time chemical. Keep that melatonin away so we can stay awake. The sun is out after all. Studies even show that exposing people to bright light before they go to bed actually delays their circadian phase, delays their sleep-wake cycle. At the same time, for people with sleep-wake disorders, bright light is actually a treatment early in the morning that will help advance their sleep-wake cycle so they go to bed at a more reasonable hour. Number 5, being outside is just a natural relaxer and it benefits the mind. One study from Nature showed people who go outside have significantly greater reports of great health. So it seems being outside is a good thing. I would say the day before your exam, try and get at least 30 minutes of outside time and 30 minutes of exercise. Now you can combine those two with like an outside walk or an outside run, or you could go do a 30-minute kind of exercise in the gym or an hour exercise in the gym and then just walk around or sit outside for 30 minutes. Personally, I would probably go lift weights at the gym for an hour and then go for a walk with one of my friends for 30 minutes. Bottom line, try and get 30 minutes of exercise and 30 minutes of outside time the day before your exam. Number 3, try and eat relatively healthy the day before your exam. We want to minimize any variables that come up on test day. And depending on your individual body, food can take around 30 to 50 hours to actually move from your mouth out your butt. So what if we eat something new the day before? We decide, you know what, we're gonna try scallops for the first time ever. No, don't do that. What if we try it and we stay up all night feeling kind of sick and then we don't sleep well enough? Or it makes us actually miss test day because we get sick. Now, of course, these are most likely not gonna happen, but I wouldn't risk anything the day before the exam. Bottom line, just eat your regular diet the day before the exam. Number 4, and again, this is the either number 1 or number 2 tip in this entire video, get a good night's sleep before your exam day. Multiple studies show that getting a good night's sleep will improve exam performance. This is the most backed by scientific evidence tip I could find across this entire video. So I'm not gonna go over the specific articles that I looked at, but I am gonna go over certain tips that I have found personally helpful to improve your ability to sleep. So the day before your exam, the day before you need that good night's sleep, do not sleep in. I might even set the alarm kind of 30 minutes or an hour earlier than you normally would. That way, when it comes to nighttime on the night before your exam, you get a good night's sleep. Do not nap during the day before your exam. Don't nap at all. Go outside and get some sunlight early in the day for at least 30 minutes. Exercise during the day at least 5 hours before bed. Don't eat anything 3 hours before bed. Don't use technology 1 hour before bed. That includes TV screens, phone screens. Just read a book or take a bath or just talk with someone. Just do something relaxing. Take a hot shower or a hot bath before bed. Bottom line, get a good night's sleep. I know a lot of the time it's said easier than done, but really try everything you can to make getting that good night's sleep as easy as possible the night before the exam. Okay, so we're on to test day. What are we gonna do on actual exam day to maximize our performance? First thing is eat breakfast. And this is sneakily important because we wanna eat breakfast, but we wanna eat certain foods. Specifically, we want something that's probably more high protein and low carb. Foods with a lower glycemic index. Why? Well, have you ever eaten kind of like a pint of ice cream or like a whole pizza or a whole bowl of pasta and felt like pretty good for maybe 30, 40 minutes, but then of course the crash comes and you're sleepy, maybe you wanna take a nap, maybe it's before bed anyway, so you just fall asleep more easily. Well, we don't want that crash on exam day. So how does this happen? Well, when you eat some of these foods that kind of cause our glucose to spike pretty freaking quickly, what happens is our body goes into overdrive to kind of store this glucose away and kind of make that glucose go down. But the problem is our body goes in overdrive just a little bit too long. And what happens is it starts to bring our glucose down below that level that it normally is. And that's when you get the crash. And this is actually called something, it's called reactive hypoglycemia. And if you have diabetes, you are all too familiar with these fluctuations of blood glucose levels. And if you look at my poorly drawn graph, you can see the red one or the orange one is not where we want to be. We want to be more along the green line, the low glycemic index, which is kind of a lower hit of glucose, so our body's able to kind of maintain that kind of nice level of blood glucose. So what do I personally recommend? Well, I would say oatmeal and eggs are like perfect options. Maybe some fruit, avocado, like you do like a breakfast meat, or whole wheat bread, like the brown bread. Avoid cereal, pancakes, white bread, waffles. Yeah, avoid all the good stuff. So bottom line, eat a high protein, low carb breakfast. Eggs and oatmeal are perfect. Number 6 is stay hydrated. This is a really stupid way to lose points on exam day.
It's not that hard.
You know, you drink enough water for you. I usually drink at least kind of 1 liter before lunchtime. But depending on you and your control of your bladder, I would maybe drink 2 big glasses of water before test day. That should be sufficient. One study I looked at actually showed there's decreased cognitive performance with just 2% dehydration. And this makes sense. The human body can be composed of up to 75% water. And interestingly, this percentage of water, our body composition of water, peaks when we're an infant at around 75%, and then it continues to drop until we're elderly, where it's at around 55%. But water is important. We need that water to perform various metabolic activities throughout our body. And guess what the most metabolically active part of our body is, especially when we're sitting down and taking a test? The brain. It accounts for 20% of our total oxygen metabolism. So please, for your brain's sake, stay hydrated. Bottom line, I drink like 500 mils of water when you first wake up on exam day. The next tip is about coffee, and I kind of made it a 6.5 because it's not a real true tip as much as the other ones are. Because the evidence isn't so strongly in support of coffee, but I think the evidence is slightly in favor of it. Some studies indicate that a small amount of coffee, like 40 to 300 milligrams of coffee, do improve performance. However, depending on how much coffee you drink a day, or if you don't drink coffee a day, this number can fluctuate. And if you go overboard on the caffeine, in my opinion, it can be disastrous. Remember that U-shaped curve? Well, you don't want to be a jittery mess on exam day, bad news. So in my opinion, for this mini tip, if you want to potentially reap the benefits of these couple studies that I saw that showed kind of this extra little bit of caffeine does have benefit, I would add just 1/2 a cup of coffee to whatever you normally drink. So if you normally drink 1 cup of coffee a day, maybe drink 1.5 cups of coffee. If you don't drink coffee at all, maybe drink 1/2 cup of coffee or a cup of tea. But again, this isn't an essential tip. I think there just might be a little bit of benefit to it. Okay, back onto the real tips, the tips that will make a difference. Next tip is arrive 30 minutes early to your test. Anxiety the morning of the test is expected, but we want to do everything we can to reduce that anxiety on test day. Arriving late to the testing place or testing center could make you unable to take your test. It could give you less time to take the test, or the most likely scenario, nothing really bad actually happens, it just makes you more stressed out getting to the test and taking the test. The extra stress is not what we need, and probably the most important exam you're going to take in a long time. Remember, we want to be in the middle of this upside down U shape for our stress. Too far to the right and performance goes down. Bottom line, arrive at least 30 minutes before your exam starts. Number 8, maintain good posture. So I'm gonna fix my posture here after reading this tip. Okay. In one study out of San Francisco, 125 students were asked to do mental math. One half of the class had to sit erect, while the other half sat slouched. The students who sat erect rated the test on average as a 4.9 difficulty out of 10, while the students who slouched rated the test on average as a 6.2 difficulty out of 10. Now, the study didn't say how these students actually performed on test day, but we can certainly see that there is a correlation between posture and confidence. Now, I'm sure most people have seen this TED Talk, I'll put it somewhere over here, but Amy Cuddy talks in this TED Talk about certain postures going like this, or putting your hands on your hips, that if you hold those for 2 minutes, your confidence actually is shown to improve subjectively.
For 2 minutes, you say, I want you to stand like this, and it's going to make you feel more powerful.
Now, there is some criticism of this TED Talk as time has went on, but I still think it can't hurt, right, to hold a Y shape outside the testing center for 2 minutes or this for 2 minutes. There's no harm in that. But we do know that there is a strong correlation between a person's self-efficacy, which is their own personal belief in performing well, and their actual performance. So improving confidence or improving your own self-efficacy may actually improve performance. And therefore, if posture improves our self-efficacy or improves our confidence, then posture may improve performance on exam day. Now, I couldn't find direct evidence relating posture to exam performance, but what's the harm? So bottom line, what would I do? Well, I would hold one of these power poses for 2 minutes in the bathroom or outside of the testing center before the exam. And then when you're actually sitting in your seat, I would sit up straight with your shoulders back and looking straight forward. People usually say, imagine there's a string at the top of your head and it's holding you straight up. Tip number 9 is smack smart. I said snack, not smack. Jesus Christ. The central points will be the same point as the breakfast point, eat high protein, low carb diet. A slow burn is much better than a fast burn. Try protein bars, granola bars, fruit, kind of low glycemic index foods. Again, because we don't want to create this spike during the exam that will eventually lead to the crash. Eating a full-blown lunch or a meal during exam day is a mistake. Please, please, please do not do that. So bottom line, bring like a protein bar and some fruit to the exam. Tip Tip number 10 is during the exam, take mini meditation breaks. So what does this mean? Well, I started implementing this when I was taking the MCAT, and it feels hugely helpful to me. Unfortunately, I have no direct evidence for this tip because there's no one who's studying people taking 1-minute breaks during their tests and seeing how they perform. However, there is abundant evidence for meditation and mental health and well-being, especially for those with anxiety. So what I do is at the end of a large section or at the end of an hour during the test, I'll usually just sit there, close my eyes, and practice something called like the 5-2-7 breathing technique. And you just breathe in for 5 seconds, hold it for 2 seconds, and then breathe out for 7 seconds. And while doing this, I'm doing a mini meditation. So I'm kind of focusing on what's going on right now as opposed to what's happening later or what happened before this. So, you know, I'm focusing on the feeling of my butt in the chair, kind of the temperature of the room around me, the sounds in the room around me, and things like that. And seriously, I would try this at least once during the exam. 1 minute isn't gonna make a difference on the timing of your test, and really just closing your eyes, taking 3 deep breaths to kind of cleanse the past section you did or the past hour you did can help you refocus, especially on a tough exam. Tip number 11 is use all your given breaks and exam time. Now, I learned this tip when I was in high school because I would usually finish my exams like 15-20 minutes early, and then I would just do nothing. Like I'd doodle on my paper or just like F around. Like I wouldn't do anything. And I remember one day during a history exam, I'd handed in my paper and I was just doodling on my paper, and we were learning about the Revolutionary War or something like that. I don't remember. History is not my strong point. And I remember one student was still taking his test, and he went up to the teacher and asked a question, and the teacher kind of scowled, looked down at the paper, looked up at him, looked down at the paper, and then looked to the class and said, "Okay, class, like for question number 8, I want you to think about this thing which we talked about earlier." And then he proceeded to basically give the answer to the question. And I was like, wait, I don't have my test in front of me, so I can't just write that answer down. And from that moment on, I vowed to never turn my test in early. Always hold on in it to the end because the teacher might just give away answers. So that's for staying to the end of exam time. And the other thing is, if they give you break time, use all of that break time. I don't understand why people don't use all their break time. Think of your poor brain working hard with no breaks. Think of it like this. Imagine you ran around a track really fast, like as fast as you could 4 times, and then you had to run 1 more lap. But someone gave you the option and said, listen, the timing's not gonna change, we'll pause the timer or whatever. We will give you a minute break, or you can just keep running this final lap. What do you think would make you run the final lap faster? If you took the minute break or you just ran straight into the final lap? I think if you took a minute break, you'd run faster. That's kind of like taking the test. Imagine if you're just blowing through questions and you come to like the very end, but they offer you a little break. Why wouldn't you take that break to kind of calm your mind down and calm everything down before you go into this final section of the test? Take all the breaks they give you. And if there are no breaks during a test, but you know that you usually finish early, give yourself some mini breaks during the test. What I'll do is I'll break the test into thirds. In the first third, maybe I'll do one of my mini meditations. The second third, I'll go to the bathroom and walk around a little bit, maybe drink some water. And then those are my mini breaks because I usually finish a test early anyway. And evidence-wise, we can reference what I talked about earlier in regards to taking breaks. Maybe you can go for a walk outside. Maybe you can drink some water. Maybe you can have a snack to keep that glucose at a good level. Or maybe you can do some deep breathing to relax anxiety and bring you back to the middle of that upside down U-shaped curve. Bottom line, use all your breaks and given time. And our final tip, which isn't so much as a tip as something to do for your own mental health, is relax after the test. You did it. Well done. Now, this tip will not improve your exam performance, but it will improve your mental well-being. Focusing on the exam, what you got right or what you got wrong, asking people what the right answer is such an easy trap to fall into. I know because I do it all the time, but really try not to do it. It's just obsessing over what happened that really the obsession isn't gonna make any difference in how you did. Instead, reward yourself. Go out with some friends. I like to grab a milkshake and a burger after my big tests. Go watch a movie. Go play video games for 3 hours. Do something fun that you wanna do. Bottom line, don't obsess, have recess. Okay, that's it. You made it through the entire video. Thank you so much for making it through this entire video, but these were a lot of things. I wish someone told me these strategies while I was in high school because it would have saved me a lot of mental craziness. So best of luck to you and your big exams. I know you're going to crush it. And if you see anyone eating a Big Mac during the test, please, for God's sake, just send them this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one.